Protesters already urging state lawmakers to reject changes to Indiana's congressional maps. Good evening, everyone. I'm Phil Sanchez.
Thanks for joining us at 10 here. I'm Derek Dennis. Governor Mike Braun today ordered lawmakers to reassemble next week to redraw the state's congressional maps ahead of next year's midterms. The decision quickly gained national attention and drew protesters to tonight's Republican Party fall dinner. That's where we find News 8's government reporter, Garrett Bergquist. Garrett?
The protesters yelled at state representatives and other party officials as they arrived for this evening's dinner. They say gerrymandering in other states does not excuse it here.
No redistricting! No redistricting!
It didn't take long for protesters to gather in front of Monday's Indiana Republican Party fall dinner.
You can't change the rules in the middle of the game. And gerrymandering and redistricting is changing the rules. It's cheating.
Well, I've decided that I can no longer just complain without taking action. So my goal is to show up at these protests to make it known that I am against the current administration's policies.
A couple dozen protesters met Republican figures as they arrived. The dinner was closed to both the public and the media. That's unusual. Lawmakers afterward turned down my requests for an interview. Hey, Senator, got time for a quick interview? Hey, Senator, got time for a quick interview? All right. Protesters say they don't believe congressional maps elsewhere should influence what Indiana lawmakers do.
You know, if you committed a sin, and you saw it was a sin, but you said, well, my neighbor sinned, or that neighbor sinned, then you should go ahead and do it too. You know, that's just dumb. Somewhere along the line, you have to have ethics.
Now, the announcement comes after almost 3 months of pressure from the Trump administration, and Senate Republicans say they still don't have the votes. The order came down early Monday. Governor Mike Braun says, I'm calling a special legislative session to protect Hoosiers from efforts in other states that seek to diminish their voice in Washington and ensure their representation in Congress is fair. The session will begin next Monday, November 3rd.
We know that our voices in D.C. are not being heard, Republican voices. And so our part as Hoosiers is to make sure that they're heard. And so if this is a way to amplify them because other states are suppressing those voices, then that's something we have to do.
Democrats denounced the special session immediately. They say it's out of step with what constituents tell them they want.
They're worried about health care costs. We've got issues that are coming down the pipe there. Utility bills are too high. I mean, there's all kinds of things. When I talk about hearing from constituents, those are the things that I hear about. And that's what I think is most important to Hoosiers, not redrawing and rigging these maps.
Democrats hold 2 of Indiana's 9 congressional seats. Andre Carson's 7th district covers the northern 2/3 of Marion County. Frank Mervan's 1st district covers Lake, Porter, and part of LaPorte County in northwest Indiana. The Senate will be the key. Speaker Todd Houston's office says House Republicans have the votes to approve new maps. But Senate President Pro Tempore Rod Bray's office says his caucus still does not have the votes.
I think it just says, Hoosiers, we still have time to stand and speak up and speak out loudly about our opposition to doing something that Hoosiers again and again and again since August have spoken clearly about. We don't want our maps redrawn, rigged.
At least 25 Senate Republicans would have to agree with the map. Lieutenant Governor Micah Beckwith is the tiebreaker, and he has long favored redistricting. Braun tells me she expects the holdouts will come around.
I think every time we've had these meetings together, we've learned more information and about the need for this on a national level. So I'm not concerned about that. I feel many of my colleagues may have had reticence at the beginning on this whole process, but now they're more informed. And as they become more informed, I'm confident they'll vote for it when it's actually on the floor.
Senator Braun tells me she expects the special session will last about 2 weeks. She says we can still expect public hearings on the proposed maps, and she says that she does not expect Republicans to suspend rules to try to speed up the process. I'm Garrett Bergquist for Wish TV and WishTV.com.
Let's bring in 2 members of Indiana's best political team, Republican Mario Masalamani and Democrat Lindsay Hake. Good to see you both on a very busy day.
Thank you.
Mario, we'll start with you. This was a long time coming. What finally do you think tipped Braun to moving in this direction?
They're running out of time, and they needed to get this done. If they were going to do it, they had to call a special session in November. And so I think that at this point, Braun is going to call the special session as he did and let the chips fall where they may. Now it's up to the president and his team to get it across the finish line. And so I believe that Trump will be in the state. He is going to meet with all of the state senators, especially on the Republican side, and he's going to ask them to tell him up or down. Are you going to vote for this or are you not going to vote for this? If he says, if people say, I'm going to think about it, he's going to say that's a no vote. Yeah. And so he's going to make them look him in the eye and say yes or no.
Lindsay, your response?
Yeah, I think we've got a lot on our plates for this next coming week, starting November 3. I'm eager to see what happens. I do think that the governor was answering the criticism he is hearing both publicly and behind the scenes from the White House. I think this is a favor for Trump. We will see what happens with the third floor, though. You can't tell the third floor what to do, and I'm eager to see what ends up happening.
Lindsay, any chance that the lawmakers target Frank Mervan's seat up in northwestern Indiana versus maybe leaving Andre Carson's seat alone here in Indianapolis?
I don't know if that's on the table. I'm not privy to those conversations, but I think everyone's on the table. Frankly, when you're at the State House, if you're not on the menu, you're just unaware of it. I think everyone is ready for anything. And when it comes to the 1st or 7th district, you've got 2 districts that could be cracked and packed to completely maneuver the outcome to be a 9-0 outcome for the Republicans.
What do you think, Mario?
I think that if they're going to do it, they're going to go for 9-0. And there's no point just going to try and do all of this to just get 1 seat. To Lindsay's point, with the state Senate, some of them not being up for election until 2028 versus 2026, the House is all up in 2026. So there's a lot of pressure on them to vote for redistricting. With the Senate, some of the members being up in 2028, they have a lot more leverage. They could say no and hope that Trump at some point forgets about this.
And you just saw a super PAC stood up just this afternoon about this. So we'll see a lot of money and talk.
And state senators, there's a number of them that are retiring. So what leverage do you have over them? Not much. If they're retiring, you can't threaten them by challenging them in a primary because they don't care.
We heard the pro tem say, the president pro tem say, listen, we might not have the votes. So if that is the case, Mario, how bad does that look for the governor?
I don't think it looks bad for the governor at all, because what the governor said is, let's have a special session, let's discuss it, and we'll put it to a vote and let the General Assembly decide. So I don't think this hurts the governor in any shape or form, but I do think that it builds goodwill with the president. And we need to make sure that our governor has a special relationship or a good relationship with the federal government and with the president, because there are things, federal funding, that we need. And so by calling the special session, he's not trying to strong-arm anyone. At this point, now he's leaving it up to the president to say, you need to get this across the finish line. I did the special session as you asked for. I called it. But you need to get these state senators in a room, and you need to make sure that you can convince them to vote for it.
Lindsay, they going to have the votes, you think?
Right now they don't, and so we'll see. I'm waiting to see some key components announce their intentions. You had some folks, even Senator Ron Alting just Friday, announced that he was planning on supporting this redistricting effort after having been a long time opponent. So there is time yet to work on this, but you and I both know that it doesn't take too much to scare people at the State House on the 3rd floor.
Lindsay, we have about a minute left, guys, but I just want to get to this. Do you think we're going to see a lawsuit, Lindsay?
Oh, yeah.
Will that be dependent upon Carson's seat, or is that just
I don't know yet. It depends how badly they draw these maps, and 2 weeks isn't a lot of time to figure out, look at those shape files, make sure they're good, there's no issues with any of them, and so we just got to see here.
You think so as well, Mauro?
The Democrats already have a couple lawsuits drafted, right? One if the 7th is included, one if not. And I think that no matter what, there's going to be legal challenges to this. Now, how successful they will be, I know the Supreme Court has a case up that they're looking at, specifically pertaining to race. So if they rule on that, then I think the potential challenges that the Democrats might put, specifically regarding the 7th district, will be determined by that litigation.
Yeah,
we'll see what happens. Good to see you both. Thank you so much for stopping by on a busy day.
100%.
Thank you. On over to you guys.
All right, Bill, thanks, and thanks to our All Indiana Politics team.